But I know hope is not like something super clear and beautiful and pretty. So hope can be in tears and in questions.
Welcome to another episode of Searching for Hope. We're really excited to have Aurelie here with us from Alsace, France. She'll be sharing a little bit about her journey over the last year and how that journey has taken a deep turn after some of the changes that the world is going through at the moment. I know Aurelie from experiences we've had together in Burkina Faso, in South Africa. We've met in all kinds of random places. Luckily, my wife and I have been able to be with Aurelie in her home in Alsace as well. And so I see Aurelie as a friend, but also someone that we can learn from. And so Aurelie, thank you for joining us.
My privilege. Thank you.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are? What makes Aurelie come alive? Like what makes Aurelie, I'm alive?
Yeah, having plans and traveling are my favorite things, and moving and going out in the outdoors and meeting people are things that I enjoy.
Even random people in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. The last hikers on Table Mountain, for instance. Yeah, that sounds good.
That was poor decision making. Good memories. One of the things that I've loved, as we've got to know each other, you are someone who's both passionate about kids and teaching, but you're incredibly passionate about sharing Jesus' love and being a light. I know you've been on a journey for the last, my guess is this journey has been 6 or 7 years, even though the last year has been really intense. But let's go with quite a few year journey to hopefully becoming a missionary. What's been the last year? Where were you headed? What was your hope? Come this month, actually. This month is when there were some big changes.
Yeah, the dream started when I was 15. My first trip to Africa in Congo, Kinshasa. And since then, so I got trained to become a primary school teacher. And I taught 2 years in a French school. And then I went to Bible college and I graduated last July. And so it's a mission-oriented Bible college. So when I started studying there, I knew already that I would join a team in Burundi, and being working in a school in Burundi as a teacher trainer. And so I was so excited that this is eventually happening after 12 years of hoping to be on the mission field, like African mission field. And I was supposed to leave on March the 17th this year. And that's when our country, France, started quarantine, and there were no more flights going to Africa. So it stopped a few days ago.
Wow.
This this thing that was planned many years ago, actually.
And what you talk about Burundi, how did you choose Burundi as the country that you kind of...
Okay.
Because you've been, right, you started in Congo, we met in Burkina Faso, you were in South Africa. Why Burundi?
I've never been to Burundi, but I know a team who's there, and they are already partnering with the school I'm going to join. And actually the school leaders, so they're all from Burundi, they asked someone who would be French speaking to train the teachers in French and in new ways of new teaching styles. So the team asked me if I would be considering joining them in Burundi. And so the offer brought me there. Will bring me there.
And I remember talking in August and how excited you were. I think you were training with Multiply, is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So because I will go long term, there is first a 3-month training in Canada, where 9 participants were there to get ready to go cross-culturally as a missionary.
do you know, did any of the participants get to go, or was this like
Yeah.
a shift?
No, 4 of them are in Mexico, but their program is also very much slowed down because they can't leave the property where they are. And those in Myanmar, they are, yeah, kind of suffering from the fact that there is no information given by the government. So they're taking their own like initiative of wearing masks and this kind of thing, but the country is just doing as if everything was fine.
For me, I think, I mean, there's something, clearly you're looking forward to something, you had a hope. And for us, part of our show is, and part of what we're trying to do is, how do you find hope through these seasons that might have been uncertain? And for a season, maybe even a long season, you had a hope. One of those hopes was to be in Burundi. A month ago, that was stolen from you. Maybe my curiosity is, in the context of that, even, how have you continued to find hope? Do you even find hope? Maybe you don't. Where is hope for you?
That's a tricky question. There is hope. Like, obviously, it's not going to end like tonight. I mean, unless God wants, but as long as we're alive, there is hope. But I know hope is not like something super clear and beautiful and pretty. So hope can be in tears and in questions, which is pretty much what's happening like now. Because for the long-term thing or the Burundi project, I have no answer yet. So it's kind of a hope in a blur. So I'm shifting from long-term hope or like clear answer to daily hopes or daily goals. Like, okay, if today I'm able to do that, this will be like so meaningful and such a good day. So instead of helping a school in Burundi, it's like cooking dinner for my parents. And yeah, it's learning to live in the present. For me, it's definitely like the lesson. Stop considering what's going to be big or going to be happening in a month or in 3 years or something, because I have no answer about that. So trying to find daily success and hopes and reasons to be here.
That resonates with me. I mean, being stuck in my house with 2 kids and a wife, and we absolutely love each other, but yet feeling like we can't get out and do anything.
Yeah.
This idea of almost like a daily, sometimes we like write out a schedule each day. With my son, we draw his schedule. And in a sense, that's the hope of what we're going to accomplish.
Oh, yeah.
Might be just doing a puzzle and eating breakfast. But,
yeah, I mean, because we're also like, Alsace is the core, like the center of the epidemic in France. So we all know people who died and people who are still like in the hospital, and mom is working as a nurse, so she's in contact with people like positive, we know that. So for me, it's like super important that I lower the expectations of what the day will look like, because like we don't know how the neighbors even are coping with that, or church members, and we even have family members who are still at the hospital, like in coma. So yeah. So
when did that start? Like, has that been right from the beginning? Like, my understanding is actually in Mulhouse.
Exactly. Yeah.
The epicenter of which is not far from your place.
So I was traveling southern France at that time. So when I came back, everything, like where I was with my friends, it was like normal life. And when I came back, I'm like, whoa, this is real. It's not just like one title in the news. It's like people you know. And yeah, I mean, restriction in Alsace arrived before the national restrictions. So we already knew like something serious is happening. And I was still hoping to go to Burundi, and at this stage, only what I knew is that the government in Burundi would put into quarantine all their travelers coming from France. And so the team in Burundi was doing like research, but where do they put you in quarantine, and do they feed you, and how do you have all these kind of things? And they found out that the informations are not very clear and that no one is really taken care of. So they recommend that I postpone my departure. That was the initial plan. Just, okay, come back like once we know what's happening when you're put in quarantine. So that was obviously wise choice because, yeah. I mean, you know, Aurora and her husband Guillaume, they're stuck there.
In Burundi?
Yeah, because they shut down the airport and there are no more plane coming like allowed. Even yesterday, they were supposed to jump in a plane sent by Belgium.
Okay.
And they kept all the seats for Belgian citizens. And some of them were both Burundis and Belgians. And they forbade those who have both nationalities to leave the country, like police from Burundi. Like, it's tough reality. So 61 seats were not used yet because they decided that last minute, all those who could have gone, as the 12 French people there, had no opportunity to go.
Oh,
it's crazy.
Wow. I mean, we haven't, I mean, for us, it's not maybe to that extreme yet. I mean, we see the news and we know that it's real and we're self-isolating, and but I don't think it's hit home in quite the same way. I'm curious, like, how do you find hope in that? Like, you have your own hopes. In some ways, it sounds like you can transition that into a daily hope. Like, I can find where does hope in the greater realm of things, like when you think of your friends, your family, your country, how do you find hope in that? Does your faith play a part in that? Does it not? Where is hope, or do you question those things?
No, definitely. I mean, I think with Jesus there is always hope, so that's helpful. And I know there is a bigger story. I don't know, I know the ending, like God is the winner, but I don't know how we will reach that point. And so for sure, like, it's putting me in a very vulnerable place. I mean, us as humanity in a very vulnerable place. But so it's Easter this week, and I think that's a good opportunity to, like, it's in the news, it's national holiday and people know about it. So I'm hoping that it's an open door for those who believe in the story of Jesus' death and resurrection to be able to share it and to give hope to those who have no hope yet. Yeah.
Do you find, I mean, on a daily basis, is it something that stresses you out, or are you able to kind of live in that day-to-day hope? Like,
I'm not afraid. I'm confident. I know God is in control. It's opening like crazy opportunities to talk, like even just with my parents, talking about death and this kind of thing. I think you don't want to talk about it if it's not all around you. That's forcing you to talk about it. But even with friends who I think don't have faith in Christ, we have this conversation, like, it's scary. Oh no. And I'm just like, I'm not scared. Like, I know the one who is in control, and he's not telling us that the end of this world is going to be comfortable. So let's hope for what's next. And just, Christianity is part of our country history as well. So many friends would be like, yeah, my grandparents are telling me it's because we were mean and forgetting the good God that this is happening. And so just like, oh, but what do you think? Having this kind of conversation, this is happening. This is really, really, really good way to share about hope and faith. and yeah, the bigger story.
You said you have family members, and how do you wrestle with the fact that you have family members that are sick, or in our conversation earlier, I think you had mentioned that you'd even lost a friend or a family member in some ways?
My dad lost his uncle, and mom's uncle is still at the hospital. And what's very complicated is that people can't go at the hospital to visit the sick. So so he has been transferred to another hospital in Western France. So there is no way mom's aunt is like seeing him or having any direct news. So even the news are not daily because there's so many people, they can't have information every day. And then sadly, when someone is dying, there is no funeral. So I think this is the tough reality of just like so many cases and so many people dying and being in confinement, so you can't gather. So yeah.
Maybe bringing it back to maybe the hope side of things. What in your community, as you've been going through this with your community, your little village that you live in, or maybe a little bit beyond, how have you seen hope within your community, even in the context of this scary, maybe uncertain, overwhelming season? Like, where do you experience hope?
In relationships. It's so interesting how it's easier to think like, oh, I can text this person, or oh, I can call my grandpa, or these things are much more normal than on a daily basis when we're all like doing our things and busy. So there is hope in that. And I mean, I'm hoping that even when we have Zoom calls for church service or this kind of thing, just, oh, you're happy to see someone's face. I'm like, whoa, I want to be happy when I have the privilege to see this person face to face every week now. And I want to appreciate that we can be at the same place at the same time regularly. And so just, yeah, it seems so precious to have friendships and relationships, but it's all happening through screens. So I have much hope in a shift in relationships and just like how deep we can get when we're not like hidden behind the screen, and just refining what it means to be in touch and to belong to the same community or same family and these kind of things. I hope in that.
Oh, that's cool. No, I think I feel similar. We've found that our connection with people, although there's no touch and we're not in the same room, we're having deeper conversations and in more relationship with more people than we were prior to this. And that doesn't mean that this isn't hard and horrible, but there is something that I feel like I'm learning as well, which, I mean, very similar to what you're saying.
But even how is it with the kids? Like, do they not want to talk with the neighbors or pet the animals they see on the way? Or
well, we live in Manitoba, so we had a big snowstorm. So
okay. Forgot this one.
although I took my oldest, who's 2.5, Simon, to visit one of his best friends or a buddy of his that are just two kindred spirits. All they like to do is cuddle and hug, and it's the cutest. But we went to visit him, but Simon had to stay on my shoulders, and we stayed 10 feet apart, and he stood in the doorway. And, yeah, it was hard to watch.
Yeah.
He says, I can't hug him. I can't hug. Next time. So
slowly understanding, it's
hard. I have 2 more questions for you already.
Yeah.
These are maybe a little big, but I think you've got it. One is just a very simple one is when you think of yourself and maybe the hope that people might remember you for, what is it that if people were to think of Aurelie, they think this? What do you want people to remember about Aurelie? What would you say? This is who I want to be.
Okay. It would be beautiful if people can think, oh, she has the joy of the Lord. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I love being with people, laughing and chatting and saying things like, yeah, being joyful. But I think it's not about circumstances, it's more into my identity and this fact that I know where I'm going and where I'm coming from also. So that's a good one.
Oh, I like that. And the other question is pretty simple as well. What would your advice be for other people who might be watching this, or for myself, or Zach, who is working on this with me? What would your advice to be for us? How might we find hope in the circumstances we live in currently? How would you say, or to an 18-year-old who's stuck at home and can't see their friends, what would you say? This is how you might find hope.
The story is not finished yet. And yeah, for me, the author of the story, it's God. So look for him. You will find hope. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on the show today. We are thinking of you all the way out in France, in the same way I'm sure you're thinking of your friends all around the world, and the way in which such a tragedy and crisis connects us all in ways that we never really imagined we could be connected. So thanks for sharing with us. I just really appreciate this.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for watching today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it. We're going to have weekly episodes every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. We'll be releasing a new episode. If you like the video, hit subscribe. Feel free to comment if you have something to say. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a story of hope that you think would be worth sharing, let us know. Our email is in our About section on our YouTube channel. We'll see you next week.
Actually, something our coach this year always talked about was like the humility of it. You know, never get too high. Especially earlier, our team was doing really well. It just seemed like everything was kind of bouncing our way, clicking our way. Even if it didn't bounce our way, we found a way through it. And just always talking about humility, not getting too high, not getting too low. You know, you got to stay as even keel as you can, and that's something that I definitely learned over my 8-year career so far in the pros.